Assetto Corsa Competizione version 1.9 is already out for several months, so I think it's time for this video. I would like to talk about my top 5 cars in Assetto Corsa Competizione right now. Obviously, this is my opinion, my perspective, so you don't have to agree with me, but maybe let me know in the comments what do you think about 1.9 version of the Assetto Corsa Competizione and the cars right now, and what is your top 5 list? I tried to create this list from hundreds of hours of playing Assetto Corsa Competizione and also by watching what's happening around me in the past couple of months. So let's just start with my list already. Number 5 on my list, BMW M4. The reason why I think BMW M4 is P5 on my list is very simple. The car is good because, unfortunately, Assetto Corsa Competizione is following the real data and a real BOP in a real world. And the BMW in this year has been having really strong races. So the thing with the BMW right now in the game is on some of the tracks, the BMW can be really good. And then you have a tracks where the BMW is, well, how to put it correctly? Well, shit. And therefore, the car is hard to love, in a way. I like the car because it's kind of easy to drive. It can kick you on the traction, but, like with the boost and such, with the turbo. But it's nice to drive. I would say overall the car is very simple. It's not too hard to handle. And I think it's like a very good rocky car, first of all. And if you survive on some of the tracks, it can give you some good results. I don't know, for example, on Donington, you can completely dominate the race, and then you go to Suzuka and you're gonna be a backmarker, which is unfortunate, but, still a good example of the car. And I do really like BMW. It looks beautiful, it runs beautiful, it has a really good sound in ACC and the handling overall. So yeah, I would say I would put it on top 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list, Ferrari 296. For some it might be surprised why the Ferrari is only P4, but for me it's very simple. Ferrari 296, one of the easy... I might be stepping on my tongue here, so please don't take me literally, guys. In my opinion, one of the easiest cars in the game right now. The easiest car to get into and drive it and survive and have a pace. It's really extremely hard to find those last 3-4 tenths, to like the top guys and so on. But to like go out from the pits and drive it around, I would say it's literally the easiest car. I would recommend it to like a lot of rookies if you just want to just have some fun, and just enjoy. Really good sounding and really well done car with very nice dashboard, the quality overall. You have to use a little bit higher TC and so on. So the car is like quite safe to drive. I would say like literally it's the safest car to drive, really good in the rain, and I do really enjoy it. But the last 3-4 tenths are really difficult to find with this car, like extremely difficult. But fantastic machine. In terms of balance of the performance in Assetto Corsa Competizione, it's like on and off. I wouldn't say it's the worst car. I think the BMW might be a little weaker because same as like the BMW and Ferrari, like BMW has like tracks where it's like dominating and then has tracks where it's like really bad, But the Ferrari is like somewhere in the front, almost winning, and then it's like somewhere in between. So it's quite consistent. I think consistent is a good word to have around. So yeah, what do you guys think, by the way? So far, do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe, by the way. Now we are getting into the fun place. Number 3 on my list, Audi R8 Evo 2. Now, Audi R8 used to be very, very popular car because it used to be OP, especially on the starts, like you just flew past like from P5, you were P1 in the first corner and people didn't like it much. But it got a lot of updates, obviously, since 1.9, and I would say this is one of the cars that people should not underestimate. In my opinion, one of the hardest cars that you can drive on a top. You know, like from all the top cars you can drive in the top, like as we were talking BMW, Ferrari so far, the Audi, I would say, is probably the hardest car to handle, hardest car to drive. But in SRO, in LFM, in every league and everywhere, when we saw the proper drivers driving the car, we noticed that the car is possibly extremely crazy fast. I don't want to say it's the fastest car or anything. I would leave that to you guys or maybe to some other drivers who can prove it. Because I saw a lot of videos, people like the hot lap videos where they drive 0TC, for example, and how they can handle it in SRO, for example, and they were getting insane lap times, you know. So the car is incredibly, incredibly hard to handle, but it gives you so much speed, so much pace. You know, the acceleration, fantastic. And it has like a weird, I would almost say, like broken downforce in a way that, well, I will let you find out sometimes. You know, if you fiddle with the setup, you will find out that the downforce is very weird. Because one of the cars, like, I think it's the only car in the top 5 on my list where the maximum wing is 5. And the rest of the cars is like 10, 12, and so on. So the like aero on the Audi is already like very weird. So, for example, when you race, I don't know, 24-hour Spa, you're running the full wing compared to some cars who have to drive like a low wing and so on. So, like, I would say Audi, extremely strong car, extremely strong. So far, everywhere where you look in the top, the Audi is there. Not many people actually drive it because it's so hard. It kind of reminds me the Porsche or Porsche 991 or the Honda NSX, which was like extremely fast car in a previous ACC update, but not many people drove it because it's very hard. All right, now we are going to proper finish line, guys. I'm very curious to see your opinions, if you agree or disagree. There might be some people already like laugh at me a little bit because they'll be like, you know, when you put this car in this car. But number 2 on my list, guys. McLaren 720S Evo. Now, McLaren 720S Evo, when it came to ACC after the update, it was like, it doesn't release with the 1.9 update, it released a little bit later. The car was, how to put this? It was broken. It was broken. It was insanely OP, especially on Valencia, for example, and even on Spa and so on. It was insanely, insanely OP car. Then it got nerfed a lot. And then obviously still, we are talking like 4 months ago when we were actually getting some BOP updates in a game, the car got like fixed a bit. So right now the McLaren is in like a very interesting place. Me personally, I'm not liking it because it's like all over the place. If you watch my streams, you would notice that some races is really good and some races is really bad. And that's why I put the McLaren on the second place. Because for me, the McLaren, one of the best cars to drive, like the handling of the car, the actual physics of the cars from the road to your wheel, like the connection, you know, is like really, really good. So it's very nice and responsive. But the problems is the new, like, I don't know, compared to Ferrari, it has like an instant turbo, but the car is like very aggressive on the throttle, so it's very loose. And it also has not the greatest brakes. I would say it's like from the top 5 list, I would say it's the worst car on the brakes. But it's not like 20 meters, you know, it's like 1-2 meters and stuff. But for me, the biggest problem with the McLaren is consistency. Consistency with the tracks. Because if you do a league where there's 5, 10, 20 races, you know, in Assetto Corsa Competizione, that's where McLaren can struggle a bit. Because when you take it for Spa, easy P1, you know, no problem whatsoever. But then you go to Kyalami and you're a second off pace, you know, or something like that. And you're like, wow, damn, you know, this is really bad, you know. So that's the problem with the McLaren. Like on it has tracks where it's like extremely dominating car, or let's say winning car, like, I don't know, let's say Brands Edge. What I have in mind right now. Very good at Nürburgring, extremely good at Spa. And really good at Misano, winning car in Misano. But then you go to Suzuka, Kyalami, and so on, you know, and the car is like, it's not like the car is like 0.2 of the pace, it's like 6, 7, 8 of the pace. So it's like a really weird inconsistency of the car with the BOP, and that's really putting me off of this car. I must say it's my favorite car. I love it. I'm racing it everywhere right now, but the inconsistency is really hurting me because I, for example, had I was fighting for a win in one race. I was faster than my teammates, fighting for the win. I was really happy. It was fantastic race, and then we go to next round, and all my teammates, including me, are like P20 and worse because the car is just, you just can't do anything. And the inconsistency is something that really hurts you, and it makes you not like the McLaren in a way, So yeah, that's my opinion on it, at least. And now we are in a finale of my list, guys. What do you think so far with the list? Let me know. Number 1 on my list of the top 5 cars of Assetto Corsa Competizione at this very moment, Lamborghini Huracan R8. I know, right? How can I say this? Why? Blah, 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 blah. Very simple, guys. I think it's gonna be way short and way simple. The Lamborghini Huracan, in my own opinion, is the most consistent car you can take on the track in ACC. Almost every single racetrack in the game, if you will take the Lamborghini, you have the ability to fight for the top positions. Like comparing to Audi or Ferrari or BMW or McLaren, the Lamborghini, if you take all the tracks in the game, Lamborghini is the most consistent car to be able to get a podium compared to others, because it doesn't have that many or almost none weak tracks. So you can win at, you can win at Snetterton, for example, and you can still win in Suzuka, and you can still win in Kyalami, you can still win on Nürburgring, and so on. But obviously there are a little bit weaker tracks, but they are not that extreme. Like for let's say McLaren, for example, Kyalami, that's a good example. McLaren is like, on Brands it's P1, but on Kyalami it's like literally, you're gonna be happy for top 20 with that car, like that's how slow it is in a competitive field. But the Lambo, even on your worst track, I think it'll be at worst like top 10, And that's why I'm putting the Lamborghini on this list here, because I feel like the overall consistency of this car, the overall like balance of the performance is working the best for you for like a long championship. I'm not saying it's the most OP car, but it's definitely the most consistent car for you to always be on a podium. At the same time, it's a very nice car to drive. You can take the curbs. It's very... For example, BMW doesn't like curbs, like big curbs, but the Lambo can take them a little bit better. So it makes the car quite forgivable on a big curbs tracks. It's nice to set up because the car has like, the one thing of the Lambo is it has like a fast corners understeer. But you can really set up the car around it nicely. So... it's not too hard to set up, and it's very nice to set up around, So I don't know how to put this. Like, it's not too much work to set the car up, basically. That's what I would like to say. You can download some setup for free on my website and find out yourself. It's like everything off or everything on and done. You have a setup that really works, So that's why I like it. So, yeah, guys, that's why I would like to put the Lamborghini Huracan R2 on a top of my list, because I feel like the car is the strongest in the game right now. Even if you would do championship with all the tracks together, I would pick the Lamborghini, in my opinion, right at this very moment, with no other BOP changes, nothing, as the game as is. Do you guys agree with my list? Let me know in the comments, by the way. And also, oh my god, I totally forgot. Yeah, you're like, what about a Porsche? What about Bentley? What about Aston Martin, Lexus, Nissan, and the other cars? AMG actually, and so on. The reason I didn't put these cars on the list, well, they don't fit because it's top 5 list. But the reason I didn't put them there is, except AMG, and except AMG. Basically, you have top 6 cars in the game right now. Lambo, McLaren, Audi, Ferrari, AMG. And that's basically it. The reason, though, why the rest is not there is because they just don't have anything in them. Because the current state of the game, as it is, or the sim, is really destroying all the other cars, Because the game is focusing on a current racing 2023 season and so on. So that's how the BOP unfortunately is updated, unfortunately. And therefore, like, the Porsche is like extremely hard to drive. It's sliding weirdly, and it's really slow as well. You know, like, yeah, it has some strong tracks, but it's really shitty. You know. Then you have AMG, which is really good car, and it's strong on a lot of tracks, but it's still pretty hard to drive. I would say the AMG is really strong in like SRO when it's obviously driven by the best drivers, and it also has a good BOP or help with the BOP itself. But in the game itself, you don't see too many AMGs, you know, Imola and so on, but not too many AMGs overall, even though the car is fantastic. Porsche, you know, unfortunately that, Nissan and so on. Aston Martin, guys, got butchered, unbelievably butchered. We drove SRO with like minus 40 kilo ballast, and it was still not enough to make it like top car. And then on Spa, the car was like, it has like minus 30 kilos on a custom BOP for SRO. And then they updated the game and gave it more ballast overall. So it was like plus 60 or something in the end. So, yeah, unfortunately, these cars like are fun to drive. They are really nice and enjoyable, but unfortunately, right at this moment, you just need the latest DLC to play ACC. You know, unfortunately. But guys, my name is Jardier. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to watch some streams and racing. And let me know, guys, what do you think about my list and if you agree. Thank you so much, and see you next time.